Well, it's just been over a month since my last video, and the reason is COVID. So, today I'm going to be sharing with you all of my experience with COVID, what worked, what I took for it. And so, let's get into it. Hi, and welcome to Nature's Path to Wellness. My name is Wendy, and today we're going to be diving into my personal experience with COVID. So it was back in the beginning of September that actually my daughter came home. She was having some of the symptoms of COVID first, and she had been away at camp and visiting some family and all kinds of different things. And so, lots of days with our nights with no sleep, as you can imagine, at camp, and lots of junk food and all of that kind of thing. And so it probably brought her immune system down a little bit. And then when she came home, she actually slept for the first 2 days that she was home. And at first, I was, of course, thinking that, well, this is probably just because she's been away, busy, doing all kinds of things, not getting lots of sleep. And so just the need for sleep. But unfortunately, she was really not feeling well. And it started with the temperature and all of the other little symptoms that come, well, not so little symptoms for some of it that come along with that. And I went for about a good week before I actually exhibited any of the symptoms of COVID. And I was thinking that, maybe I'm probably going to get away with this. At least I was hoping so. And, I wasn't eating junk food and I wasn't staying up late and all of that. So my immune system was probably just a little bit stronger at that time. And it was about a week after she had come home where I started to experience some of the symptoms of COVID. Now, having said that, I did not go out and get a test and we did not get her tested either, but the symptoms were very clear as to what we were experiencing. And so it started with, a sore neck and a headache. That was some of the symptoms that I got, feeling slightly dizzy. And after about a day or so into that came the temperature. And so it was, we were freezing no matter what you did, no matter how many layers of clothes, no matter how warm the house was, and just layers of blankets in bed and whatnot. And so, of course, the temperature lasted for a few days. And then it went on to a few days of that, and just feeling so weak and tired. It just all the stuff that I had to do around the house, or we had to do around the house, and around we have farm animals and whatnot. So, of course, just getting outside and trying to do all of the farm animal chores and whatnot in the mornings it was a daunting task. Thankfully, because I do work from home, I was able to come home and sort of sit at my desk and do what I needed to do. Often putting my head down on my desk just to get a few minutes rest and just, trying to drink lots of warm fluids and whatnot and get through it. So the first week was really, I would say, some of the roughest parts of what we experienced. And so the temperature was a couple of days. The tiredness and the general weakness and achiness lasted forever. And the next phase that came in after the weakness and tiredness stayed the whole time, but the next thing that got added on was the no taste and no smell. So those were some of the very clear symptoms where we could definitely definitively say, yes, we definitely have COVID. Just going to eat food and there's just no taste, no smell to it. And so, of course, we did have some ivermectin around the house, and we did have mullein. So we were having mullein tea. And as this thing progressed into our chest, because it inevitably does for most people, and the cough started, we were also then using the nebulizer, which the nebulizer seemed to help quite a bit. And it would, encourage being able to cough and have a productive cough, let's put it that way, without getting too graphic. And the mullein tea really helped. I will have to say that the ivermectin actually didn't do a whole lot. And, so there was a lot of different sides, right? People were all about taking the ivermectin, and the ivermectin is the thing that you need to take. In all honesty, it really didn't do a whole lot to relieve the symptoms. We did have lots of vitamin D. We were having anywhere between 3 and 10,000 units of vitamin D per day, and that seemed to help quite a bit. And one of the things that was the most effective now, I do believe in trying to manage symptoms and things like that as much as possible with natural solutions. So like I said, the mullein tea, anything of elderberry for coughs and all of that. We didn't actually have any elderberry syrup on hand, unfortunately. And I usually order my elderberry syrup. We had used it up. We ended up getting an Asian cough syrup, which had it was all sorts of Asian types of herbs and whatnot, a Chinese medicine type of thing. That was really helpful for the cough. But again, the number one thing that ended up working for us was ibuprofen. And I know that sounds kind of funny. It's simplistic, and a lot of people will use like ibuprofen and Tylenol to bring down the temperature. We didn't use anything to bring down the temperature. I fully believe that having a temperature, your body is trying to fight something off, and so I encourage most people to ride out the temperature, do what you can to remain comfortable while you're having a temperature, drink plenty of fluids, and whatnot. But the Motrin for a few days was actually a real game changer. As soon as we took some of the extra strength Motrin, all of those body aches and just the symptoms seemed to be really very much reduced. And it's funny because when I think back to when COVID first began, one of the warnings that they started putting out for people is to completely avoid anything with ibuprofen in it. I mean, was early in the game of COVID. And so they really didn't know, all the professionals really didn't have any idea what was going to be effective and what wasn't. But there was a lot of warnings about ibuprofen. And so I think I had it in my head, we shouldn't be taking any ibuprofen. This is not a good thing. But it came to, I don't know, probably about 2 weeks into the whole thing. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to try it and just see if it does help because honestly, the symptoms after 2 weeks start to get a little bit much. So again, the ibuprofen was a huge game changer for us. It brought a lot of relief for my daughter as well. And so we were able to get over the hump of the worst of it. About 3 weeks, maybe about 2.5, 3 weeks in, the chest, like it went way down into the chest. And so you could feel it. I was just sitting here working and whatnot. And I could literally, as I was breathing, I could hear my chest rattling. I wanted to say it was a little bit scary, to be honest, when it started to get that way, because you hear of all sorts of people going into the hospital and having to be putting on breathing apparatuses and different types of things. And so, that does come to mind and it brings a little bit of fear. But again, using a nebulizer, I had a bit of a natural chest rub that I was using that was helpful. And yeah, just after a week or so, it did become more of a productive type of cough. And it just seemed to be more like I've had bronchitis a couple of times in my life. So it seemed to be more like that type of thing. And it really took about a month to get over the whole thing. The tiredness, I think, was the hardest thing to get through. You were just doing small things. I was just doing small things throughout the day. And you'd feel like, okay, now I need to take a break, right? You go out and do animal chores for us in the morning, and then it was coming in to have something for breakfast, and it's like, "Oh, okay, let's just get through the next phase of the day." And so it was quite a challenge, and it was really long lasting, which for us who generally eat healthy and take really good care of ourselves and really try to focus on having a very healthy immune system. I'd really hate to see how it is for some people. Now, of course, we also didn't engage in getting any of the stuff that they were trying to push, through this last 4 years. I don't, everybody has their own personal choice about that. And it was just not something that I wanted to entertain putting into my body. I didn't feel that, especially in the first while where they were really pushing that sort of thing very hard, that there was enough, testing and research and all of this stuff done on it. So I still wouldn't go for it, to be honest with you. Um, some people came out of having COVID where they never did get any of the um, thing there, and they said, "Oh, they wish they had it and whatnot." I still would 100% stick with my choice in terms of that, and I don't think that I, looking back, would ever make a different choice. I still feel the same, even though the period of how long we had COVID was quite long and drawn out and whatnot. We made it through. We're fine. There was no hospitalization. There was none of this kind of stuff, as do most people. I mean, really, when I look at it, it really is a flu. And really, that's how the World Health Organization and the CDC now talk about it, as a flu, a type of flu, right? And so, Some flus are worse than others and some last longer than others and that kind of thing. So, we've been through it. It took 4 years for it to get to us and finally experience it. But hopefully that was kind of our run with it. And so now we're done. So yeah, I will put some of the information down in the description, the video description below of some of the things that worked for us best. And share your experiences with me in the comments below. I'd be curious to see if you've had COVID, what worked for you. If maybe you were one of the people that had this, did you have COVID afterwards? Did that make it any better? And yeah, I'd just be curious to know. So, anyways, I hope to be back to doing more regular videos now that we finally got that out of the way. And I hope that you're doing well. And I do look forward to seeing you here again soon at Nature's Path to Wellness, where your lifelong journey to health begins. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.